Hey guys, welcome back to another review. Here with the fellas, we're in Las Vegas for a little vacation, and we've just checked out the film The Cursed. So, The Cursed was being advertised, promoted as a werewolf movie. I'm saying it like that because this movie... Where do I start with this one, dude?
It takes its own thing of the werewolf mythos that makes it different.
Yeah, so this movie takes place, I want to say in like the 1800s or some shit.
It was like a little bit, like maybe 20 years before World War I.
Yeah, it takes place around like the World War I or whatever era. And it is a periodic tale about, well, a werewolf. And with this movie, going into it, there was a lot of things I was kind of like on the fence about. One, this movie's actually getting pretty solid reviews too. It's got the most generic ass fucking title ever, The Cursed. I'm like, oh boy. And I'm gonna say something really quick, something pretty important. A lot of movies are getting like overly positive reviews lately. I'm like, I saw like Dog is certified fresh. I saw like the new Scream was certified fresh. Fucking Jackass is almost at a 90, which no hate on those movies, but it's like, what the hell is going on here? And then this one is no exception. So yes, again, this was being promoted as as a werewolf movie. It's got a lot of different creatures in it. It's got like the scarecrow thing. The werewolf itself is this weird looking kind of gargoyle thing. It's not
Harry.
It's a werewolf movie without an actual werewolf as the creature, but everybody says it's a werewolf. I don't know. It is a periodic tale centered around a family whose son gets bit by a werewolf kind of thing. So there's this land that has, some mythology to it, and it has a curse that is buried. This group of kids finds the burial where the curse is, digs it up, and the curse is released, and a werewolf is released among the land as well. The curse is kind of brought back up. And with this movie, so again, this is off to a weird start, but it is really strange. It's a movie that is 100% kind of in its own little world. It is in again the World War I era. It goes back, well, it kind of jumps in between timelines. Mm-hmm. It goes forward or back into the World War I area,
and then 20 years before it.
Yeah, it goes in even like further on before that and further on after. One thing I will say about this movie that I was excited about is that, again, regardless of the reviews, I wasn't trusting those. I haven't trusted those in a while now. But the gore in this movie, I was hearing was very fucking top notch. The gore in this movie is probably the most standout part to it. It is I'm not going to say very bloody movie. There are some sequences that are like bodily horror based that are pretty intense. It is a bloody film. I think that as a film, it is different for a werewolf film, if that's what they're calling it. It is kind of its own little world and everything. I think that the movie as its own is not a bad idea. It is a very lengthy movie. It is a very slow movie. And where the whole periodic tale stands in with the misleadingness of it being a, quote, werewolf movie, I think that was, again, just a little bit misleading. This movie does, again, it features a lot of different creatures. It features things from witches to scarecrows to this werewolf that isn't exactly a werewolf. It does take place back in like the 1800s. I was getting a vibe from this movie where it's like Red Dead Redemption 2 meets Jeepers Creepers meets The Wind, promoted as a werewolf movie.
So my thoughts is going to sound a little confusing, but I liked the beginning of it because it looked like it had something going for it. And then in the middle, I was like, what? Then the end, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to cut in real quick and say that. So the movie does, again, begin with this whole like World War kind of soldier intro to it. which I thought was different, especially for like a werewolf movie. And I was like, watch, this is gonna be that thing where it's just dumped in theaters with a shitty ass name like The Empty Man.
It was a solid intro, but the ending made me literally say "fuck you" to the movie. Literally, I'm like, "Fuck you" to this movie. I'm like, what?
So really quickly, you are a big werewolf movie fan.
Yeah. The werewolf.
Is that even a werewolf? What,
No, it
what
looks
was
more.
that?
Okay, the werewolf looks like, you know how you cook turkey or like chicken, like the skin of a turkey before you cook it, and then like a hairless horse makes him like a dog, and the weird.
I'm sorry.
And it's like, and they're showing like, oh yeah, like if you know your history, you know like England was very colonial even to their own like state. Like the curse happened was because they ran a certain group of people out, and the people cursed the land.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have done that, but they were like, oh, it's alright, because they just feel, and they're like, oh yeah, it's ours. Also...
European Native Americans, it sounds like.
Yeah, but it was in England, so it's
Yeah.
Romanian.
So I feel like the mythology aspect to it, like the lore, it worked. There was nothing wrong with that. I mean, even if, like, even though I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with that, like, it wasn't told bad or anything, it was it was pursued well, it was depicted well, but it just, again, the movie jumps around so many aspects. It goes back to World War I, it goes back to before that, it goes back into the future. There's a lot of different cultural kind of like standpoints in between this movie, and again, people that are trying to take over land. It's a very periodic tale. And again, going back to witches and spells and scarecrows and this, werewolf thing. It is a movie that I feel like didn't really know how to describe itself. And then you watch this movie and it really just is all over the place, like I was saying earlier. It is a very periodic, fucking supernatural kind of mythological tale that didn't really seem to be in one kind of area, which is kind of cool that it did have like a good variety, but none of that was really like brought justice to. The movie is full of just jump scares. I thought that, again, the gore and the blood and like even some of the creature like effects was fine, but even then, those ones that I thought was like actually like the best parts of the movie, there was a lot of things where it just didn't either get the actual justice that it deserved. They didn't really touch upon it enough.
That's why it feels like the writer and director wanted to it felt like it was like a pilot for like a show almost.
Yeah.
It felt like it could have been better as a show if they made it into a show instead of a 2-hour movie that felt longer than 2 hours.
I actually will say this. The movie was like 112 minutes. I actually thought it went by pretty fast.
Really?
I thought it went by fast. And here's the thing. It's not because I liked it or because it was like really interesting to me. I think that the story worked. I think that they were going somewhere with it and could have gone to more further lore with it. But again, this is like one of the good things, and also like not to the fullest of like its extent, is like there was a variety in this movie.
The lore was interesting.
There was a variety in it.
The lore was interesting. It's just that it jumped all around. And some things I don't understand, like it's a werewolf movie, but there's vines in here. Because like how you said, there's a scarecrow.
Just kind of like getting this all contained. So yes, it is about people that stole other people's land, and because of that, a curse was brought on. And then years later, some kids find that site where all that happened. They dig up all the remains from and all the context of that area and all of that lore, and then the curse is kind of like revealed onto the land. And then from there, again, things start happening around the area, around the site. We get, again, witches and scarecrows and all this stuff. It's kind of like a mystery film, again, the main family, their son ends up getting bit once the curse is released. And, from there, it goes on to this kind of like mystery, kind of like horror film. Kids go missing, and again, different supernatural events are occurring. I thought it had a nice overall variety to it. I thought that was pretty fair. But the film just seemed to be so wrapped up in its own world. Again, I think that there are aspects to it that are fine. But I think that because of the movie's runtime and because of everything, regardless of how good that may come out to, some degrees, I think that because of that, it is going to lose a lot of people. This is a very kind of, again, very convoluted movie. It's all over the place. It is pretty lengthy. Regardless of the strengths that the movie does have, there are more negatives than not. And as a full piece, I think it is really going to lose a lot of audiences. Personally, I'm going to give this film a 2.1 out of 10.
I say just don't watch it in theaters. Don't spend extra money. Just watch it at home, on demand. And yeah, just keep open mindset. And it is a mystery. It is kind of silly that it's a mystery. It shouldn't be a mystery for a werewolf movie.
Mm-hmm.
I give it, personally, I give it a 4.3.
Yeah, again, it's weird for me giving this, because I haven't given a negative review, especially this, a low 2 in a long time, and I think about it, I'm like, there are a lot of things, and that's the thing that's so hard about this film, is that, there's a lot to it, there's a lot of variety in this movie, but none of it really feels like it actually goes to its fullest. It's just kind of at the end of it, it's just kind of oh, it's just all over the place.
Like horror movie, I noticed that there was no inch of a comedic thing in there at all.
There's no comedy whatsoever.
Yeah, in most horror movies, there's a little slither of comedy or something.
Yeah, no,
one.
No,
and that's the thing is I kind of respected that though. Yeah. I respected that it was exactly what it wanted to be. I'm sure to again, it was different and it had a lot to it, but it just didn't hit me anywhere. I just didn't like the film. Yeah. But yes, guys, that's going to do it for this review. We are going to be watching some of the Cuphead show. We're going to be trying to squeeze a couple of those episodes in, maybe do some reviews on those. But we are going to be headed to, I'm going to let the details out, we're going to be headed to the most haunted museum in the world to do a video on that tonight. So look forward to that. But that's going to do it for this Cursed review. Let us know what you guys think. I'm not sure how many people will be seeing this movie. It is kind of an underrated one. But if you do, let us know what you guys thought of it. Let us know what you thought of the review. And take care, guys, and have a good night. We'll see you in the next video.